Ciao a tutti and welcome to my Italian cooking class. Today I want to teach you how to prepare homemade tagliatelle. This is the first video of series where I teach you how to prepare pasta fresca, which is Italian homemade pasta. Let's start!
Pasta fresca can be categorized into two types: pasta all'uovo, where you use flour and egg, and pasta di semola, where you use semolina and water. Then, within these two types of pasta fresca, you can find tens of shapes that fill the Italian peninsula: orecchiette, tortellini, strozzapreti, lasagna, spaghetti, and many more. You can also experiment with new shapes. We can add other ingredients in the dough to give some color to the pasta. In the olden times, making pasta fresca in Italy was also an occasion to have the family around to help out. Regardless of what pasta fresca you are making, it is always a great satisfaction after cooking and eating it. Today, we will explain to you how to make tagliatelle, which originate from Emilia-Romagna in Italy, and they are now known all over the world. To make tagliatelle, we need only two ingredients: flour and eggs, as fresh as possible. The ratio and weight between flour and eggs, without counting the weight of the shells, is 2:1. Since eggs can vary in size quite a bit, it's better to use a scale to weigh the eggs rather than giving an indication of how many eggs are used for how many grams of pasta. Let's proceed. Sift the flour. This step helps to remove eventual lumps and impurity. Also, it makes the kneading faster. Form a well in the middle and put your eggs in it. You can break the eggs directly into it if you are confident with their weight, or else you can always adjust the proportion between flour and eggs during the kneading, as we will see later. With a fork, beat the eggs and slowly carve in some flour from around the well until it's incorporated with no lumps. Work your way around the well wider and wider. Let's do a simple test. Break the side wall of the flour open. If the egg and flour mix does not run out, it means that you can use your hands to continue kneading. If you are struggling to incorporate all the flour into the dough, add a little water using a piece of dough like a sponge. But don't use water to try to have a softer dough. This dough is supposed to be hard. On the other hand, if you feel the dough is too soft, add some flour. Since this dough is quite hard, kneading it can be tiresome. See how Mom is using her full body to do it, transferring her weight from her feet down to the dough through her wrist. Your wrist is the key tool in this process. It's important that the table is stable and the floor not slippery. If you find the kneading too tough, use a kneading machine and spare yourself the toil.
This dough is very hard dough. You have to become a strong woman for make a beautiful dough. You have to knead at least for 15 minutes. The dough is ready. I am very tired. Per fare questo impasto abbiamo usato tantissima forza e l'abbiamo maltrattato. Questi impasti bisogna maltrattarli. Però, come si suol dire in gergo, adesso la massa è nervosa. Quindi va lasciata riposare per almeno 30 minuti. Dopo il riposo risulterà liscia ed elastica. Semplicissima da lavorare.
When you leave the dough to rest, wrap it in cling film to prevent it from drying.
To make tagliatelle, we can use two methods, or rolling pin or pasta maker. But I have the wrong rolling pin. If you want to make tagliatelle, you have to use long and thin rolling pin. Don't do what I do.
Regardless if you will use the rolling pin or the pasta maker, rest assured that the taste of the tagliatelle will not change. The pasta maker has the advantage of speed and ease, while the rolling pin will make the fettuccine more irregular in shape for a greater homemade feeling. Now we prepare the pasta maker for its use. We clean it rubbing it with a piece of dough and passing the dough through all its rollers. Never use water to clean it. But our pasta maker does require some deep maintenance, as you can tell from its loud squeaking sound. If you think we should dedicate a video on how to use a pasta maker in details, let us know in the comments below. Turn the knob of the pasta maker in the position that keeps the rollers the widest apart from each other. Cut a piece of the dough with a knife. Don't just tear it off, but flatten it with your hand. Slightly push the dough through the rollers and spin the handle. Fold the dough in half and pass it through the rollers again. Repeat a few times until you get a rectangular shape. Now reduce the roller spacing to the next position and stretch the dough.
Sorry, it's very old machine.
Pass the dough through each position until the last one. When you need to put flour on both sides of the dough to be sure it does not stick in the final delicate step. Lay the dough flat on the working table. Cut the long strip into a 25 cm or 1 foot long pieces. Finally, pass the dough through the rollers that have the cutouts for the tagliatelle width. While the tagliatelle come down from the pasta maker, use your hand to keep them lifted and gently roll them into a nest shape on a wicker tray or on a cloth. This starts to be very satisfying to the eye. Making tagliatelle with the rolling pin is definitely harder than with the pasta maker because you need to get a uniformly thin sheet of dough which you will cut into tagliatelle. Hit the dough with the pin along a straight direction and start rolling. Continue stretching and rolling, turning the dough by 90 degrees every time. Start putting pressure from around the middle of the dough and then push the pin away from you to the edge of the dough. Just as it happened in kneading the dough, you will need to exercise some force with the whole body core, shoulders, and arms, transferring the weight onto the pin. The objective is to have a uniform thickness of the dough while shaping it into a long strip. As the dough gets thinner, use less pressure to prevent tears. The dough is ready for cutting when you can see your hand through it. Spread some flour on both sides of the dough and fold it. Cut parallel strips around 8 mm wide. Unfold the strips and shape them into a nest on a wicker tray to dry. Here are some tips to help you make the best tagliatelle. 1. When kneading, always keep some flour and some warm water close by, because the weight of the eggs changes and the absorption of the flour as well. Therefore, you may need to adjust the consistency of the dough by adding one of these two ingredients. 2. After forming the nests, you can cook them immediately or dry them in a plastic bag after drying. But be careful, don't let them defrost before cooking them, as they will become a sticky mess. 3. If you live in a humid climate, put the tagliatelle under a fan to make them dry quickly and evenly. It will be easier to handle them, but be careful, they also become brittle.
How you cook pasta fresca? You cook pasta fresca in same way that you cook the pasta that I buy in supermarket. There is only one difference, the pasta fresca cooking in very short time.
And now, let's prepare a quick and simple recipe. You just need some cherry tomatoes, fresh basil leaves, extra virgin olive oil, and Parmigiano. None of these ingredients will be cooked for a perfect Mediterranean flavor. Cut the basil leaves in pieces with your hands. Add some salt and mix. Now bring a pot of water to a boiling point and add salt. Then toss the tagliatelle into the water. Pasta fresca is ready when it starts floating. Tagliatelle is no exception. Add some ground pepper if you want. Finally, add shaved Parmigiano on top of the dish.
You like Italian tagliatelle? Give me a like. If you want to become a master Italian chef, subscribe and push the bell. Ciao!